Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you and welcome to Islam and Life with me, Tariq Ramadan, broadcasting from London. In today's show we ask the question, should filmmaking be utilized more in the Muslim world?
Films have always been deemed the most influential ways of portraying and delivering ideas, messages and narratives. This is to such an extent that some accuse governments of using the cinema world in order to deliver hidden messages and manipulate the masses. In fact, last year an offensive amateur film sparked anger across the Muslim world within days, and pro-American films with underlying anti-Islam tones have swept through the industry for years. More and more Muslims have come towards the filmmaking industry, and to counter the offensive film last year, award-winning Iranian director Majid Majidi produced a $30 million film on the life of the Prophet Muhammad. This week's Islam and Life asks, should filmmaking be utilized more in the Muslim world?
The question of arts and media and movies, it's very important today. When it comes to politics, when it comes to understanding a religion, when it comes to spreading around opinions and perceptions about the other, about religion, about Islam today, or about the reality of the world, what is happening, and history even, what is coming from filmmakers and filmmaking, it's tremendously important and critical. It's as if we have a very, very important industry, and sometimes the budgets are so huge that they are more than the budget and even what is done and what we can find in very poor countries, in southern countries. When it comes to Hollywood, and we know now with Bollywood and what is coming from some African countries and the Middle East, we know the power of movies and the power of entertainment in shaping the opinions of the people. And it's as if everything is coming from the West, things are coming from the East, but not so many things are coming from within the Muslim majority countries. Should the Muslims, or should the Muslim majority countries put more money and invest in filmmaking and producing more and spreading around things that have nothing to do with direct politics or direct religious thinking, but are shaping perception and helping the people to get a better understanding of what Islam is and who the Muslims are and what are the challenges in Muslim majority countries. These are questions that are so important, and to answer all these questions I'm joined by filmmaker Reza John Vedadi. Thank you so much for being with us today. As we saw in the clip, and what could be the question today is, what is the state of affairs? Because we are talking about one movie, you know, about the Prophet, peace be upon him, and very often when it comes from Muslim majority countries, it's as if what we think is, as Muslims, we should have a movie on Islam and Muslims, and not, you know, other things dealing with life and dealing with politics and dealing sometimes with, you know, civilizations and daily life. So what is the state of affairs? If you had now, you are in the business, you are within, you live in the West, but you are connected with your own country and other countries, what would be your assessment of what is done and not done today?
In the West, filmmaking was used as a form of entertainment and form of education. And in our society, so the Middle East and Muslim societies, people frowned upon entertainment that could have been risque or not according to the teachings of Islam because of the cultural society that they lived in, so it prevented development of film and media. It's only recently, since the last 30, 40 years, with changes in the Muslim world in different countries like Iran and Egypt and places like that, they decided to think, well, why can we not mix the form of entertainment that we have from film and TV in an Islamic context? And it's only recently that they've decided to do this. So if we take that into context, we have 100 years of Western working on the media of films and TV, and then we have 30, 20 years of it in the Muslim world. And the hubs of the Muslim world where they make a lot of films and TV is Egypt and is Iran and Turkey. And if we look at the context, in Turkey, a lot of the stuff is very Western, very entertainment-based, without education, without Islamic influence. Egypt may have a little bit more of the conservative Islamic stone, but it's still a little bit more about entertaining in a Western context. Iran is the only one that has that combination of having Islamic and cultural and conservatism inside the filmmaking of it. So because of that, the people have become a little bit, at that time, up to now, frowned upon.
But you also have in the West people celebrating one type of movies or productions that are coming from Iran that are not very much connected to religious things. So you have this kind of celebration of something which could be an alternative movie business or production. Now, what you are saying is also very interesting. What you are saying is that because in Muslim majority countries, the perception was that movies were about entertainment. So we were preventing this industry to produce in order to protect the people. But yet, if we see what was happening in the 20s, in the 30s, in the 40s in Egypt, and mainly 40s, 50s, we can see that lots of movies were, and it was a big business, were produced with no real Islamic reference and very much a westernized type of understanding. Is this still the case? Can you see it as, when we talk about filmmaking, we very much think about Western style and Western parameters?
Well, if we look at it again the way you've laid it out, there is the different, say, quality or different standards of filmmaking. But there's also there's the power of the distribution that the West has that we don't have in the East. So as much as Egypt or Iran or any country, they can make the most amazing films. But if it's limited by the language of how many people can understand it, the story, the context, and the power of distributing it, I mean, if you look, Warner Brothers and all the other companies that have massive production facilities, they also have massive distribution arms. They go as far as China and Russia and all these other countries. And it's like a product for them. They want to make money out of it, so they sell it. We look at it in some respect as a product that we want to make money out of, but also we look at it as an art form. So for us, it doesn't matter if X number of people see it, as long as it's a good film. That may be wrong in a little bit. It has to be commercialized and it has to be successful on its own feet. So then then if it's commercialized, other people want to see it. And then we have to adapt it from the East or from the Muslim countries for it to be acceptable by people who are not from that culture. And then we have to have a system in place where it could be distributed to those places. So once a year we get one film that does really well, and that's amazing Iranian or Egyptian cinema, but they made hundreds of other films.
Yeah. So that's quite interesting. It's just the whole mindset should be changed, because at the end of the day it's a market, and you have people who have demands, and you have to offer something which is at that level. So it's also connecting this with not only ethical quality, but something which has to do with entertainment. And there is nothing wrong with entertainment in Islam, by the way, and we have to repeat this. Having said that, now if we go a step further, now the situation is this one. It's as if we are far behind, not promoting and producing. In fact, if I think from an Islamic perspective, our contribution is very, very weak on that field. What should be done in order to change this? In which way we have to be involved? You said something at the beginning, change the mindset first. Now, what we can produce that can, in fact, be something which is a contribution, not only to do as good as the West is doing, but something which is special, specific in also shaping, just so that Oscars and Caesars and all this in France, in the States, are promoting even very, very ideological movies. It's not about entertainment. It's about war and terror. It's about hostage in Iran, and they are getting awards. So how could you produce something different?
Well, we have to look at the context that we're in. So we're Muslims living in the West. Can we make a lot of different changes to, say, filmmakers in the Middle East? Not really, because we're here. So we have to change the mindset where entertainment is forbidden, it's haram or whatever, into no. If it's Islamic contexted entertainment, there's nothing wrong with it because it educates as well.
Yeah.
So we have to educate ourselves and our parents. So if you have a youth, they want to become a filmmaker, they want to work in media, or they want to become journalists. The first thing they say is, I didn't come to this country for you to go and do that. I came to this country for you to become an engineer, for you to become a doctor and dentist. I've worked hard for this. So you already have that pressure from the family, which is the strongest pressure. If our father says, what is your intention to become a filmmaker? He goes, I want to educate the world about our religion, our culture, our faith. And he goes, I will support you. How much difference does that make to the number of people who will then go into the media to study it, become good at it, and then come out and then influence?
Because but in fact, if I listen to you, which is very true, is that for Muslims very often, first is not serious enough. Second is a perception that they don't understand that we are talking about. This is professionalism. This is something which is a very serious. It has to do with education, but it's as if there is a disconnect in our mind between education and entertainment. Anything which is entertaining cannot be educative. So how can you change this? Because the parents are coming and very often they just direct their sons and their daughters towards what you said, computer sciences, medical sciences, being a teacher, but not in that field.
I think the people who are getting through that crack of being able to do the studies in degree, masters and PhD of cinema, of filmmaking, of journalism, is to be the best that they can. So then the peers and their parents can look back and say, actually, you know what, he's doing something constructive. So when the second generation child comes and says, I want to follow this person, they have a point of reference, and that parent says, actually, you're right, because that person is doing a good job. That person is professional. That person is having an income. They're making a change to society. And the change from society doesn't come just from scholars, doesn't come just from teachers. It can come from people who are working in the media. Like you mentioned, the film that made about the Holy Prophet. Now, when they talk about that issue, they don't go to a engineer or to an architect or to a dentist and say, what is your opinion about the media? They go to someone who's in the media. They're the ones who counter that kind of negative ideology about Islam. And again, about the film that they made about the Iranian Revolution. You need people in the media to counter it with positive images. Not just protesting, not just burning things, not just making a noise. It has to be constructive response. And then also, then you start setting benchmarks, and then you start leading people behind you. There is another way of being in this society, instead of just keeping quiet, having like you said, engineering job or a medical job and stuff like that, and hoping that some other person than a Muslim will come and defend us.
Yeah, but just one thing about this. First, you know, I talk to young students and people who wanted to be involved in this area, and they are saying it's a closed world. You come, and the fact that you have a Muslim name or an Arab name, people are very powerful, and it's a word with codes, and it's very difficult. So how come can we enter into a world where the very essence of it is not to let us in? This is one. And the second, the question of money, because you need money. You need to have some budget to do something, because we are talking about, you know, very powerful movies with millions of dollars, while you are coming and sometimes you want to do something educative. No money and no networking within. How can you do?
Well, you need a number of elements to be able to be successful in any subject, be it a media or any other subject. Now, if you're in the media, you need to, first of all, in any subject, you need to have educated and skilled individuals. So we can still go to university. They can't close the university to Muslims or non-Muslims. So you have to educate yourself, and you know that was the first thing we discussed. Getting support from your families to be able to do that. Once you have done that, then the individuals have to come together with the support of a number of people. So it could be centers, it could be Islamic centers, it could be institutions that are Islamic, it could be scholars, it could be any of those groups that support. And then you start with a small grassroots space. You don't have to have £1 million to be able to set up a big budget studio, TV channel. The technology that exists now, the access to cheap cameras, access to editing, you can put editing on any computer system now, and be able to stream your ideas online, on YouTube, or having a channel set up where it will cost only X number, thousands of pounds, not millions of pounds or hundreds of thousands of pounds to set up. Once you have that, and then you commercialize it. So we have so many Muslim businesses. You say to them, look, I have access to Muslim youth. They're watching our programs. Why don't you come and sponsor us? Commercialize the whole system. So we have at least...
Can you compete with this very big transnational...
You have to start from a basis.
Yeah.
You can't say, okay, I want to compete with the big boys in Hollywood without even doing something small. But once you do something small, it may even come to a point where we realize that the stories that we have, the things that we want to make, is a crossover with non-Muslims. There may be non-Muslims who are interested. For example, Prophet Jesus, he's a great film personality in the Christian world and in the Muslim world. Why can't there be a Muslim film about Prophet Jesus that crosses over? And then when non-Muslims see this...
Yes, go ahead.
When non-Muslims see this, they realize there's more to us, and then we can work more to build more films that are relevant for both.
Okay, but still we have two problems here. The first one is, how do we reach people of other faiths? Because it's as if when we are doing things, it's as if we are talking to one another. So it's not counterproductive, but it's not productive in contributing to the business. Very difficult, as you said, to compete with big corporations in the filmmaking process, but very often also difficult to reach out people. And the second is exactly what you just said now, is when we talk as Muslims, very often our vision is we are going to have a movie on the Prophet, we are going to have a movie on religion, we are going to have a movie on religious matters. But once again, is this going to work? Do we have, as Muslims, to produce only religious movies?
No, we don't. We have to accept the society we live in. That's the first process, that we are, for example, non-Christian, non-Anglo-Saxon, but we live in England, we're born in England, our children are born here, we speak the language, we're brought up here. We have to accept this. Okay, a lot of people live here, but they don't accept that this is my home. In the back of their head, they think they're going to go back to some country that they originally came from 2-3 generations ago. Once we accept, no, this is my home, I'm going to live and die in this land, then I realize I want to make a change in this land, and I have connections to different things in this land. And then there are, as I said, crossover stories, crossover issues that affect us and affect people from outside of the Muslim religion that is shared. Problems with the economy, problems with families, problems with abuse. These are universal issues that affect everybody. Well, why can't we make a film about it from a Muslim perspective? It doesn't have to be only Muslims or about only Islam. It's from a Muslim perspective. It has that Muslim flavor. We can do that.
I want you to tell me about the Muslim flavor. What is the Muslim flavor?
Muslim flavor could be like, instead of having a character who's in a film always demonized as a Muslim, doesn't represent the true 90% of the Muslims, 95% of the Muslims, is showing an extreme characteristic of one small 0.0% of Muslims around the world who are extremists.
So this is the other side, but a positive Muslim flavor would be what exactly in a movie?
A positive Muslim flavor could be, for example, actually being made by Muslims, or containing a lot of Muslim crew or Muslim actors or Muslim script writer or something like that. Automatically the flavor comes in. Automatically you have it talking about description of the scene, for example, or the way of the character speaks, or the place where the character is from. You have that starting to trickle in, and slowly you can crystallize it more. But unless you have that, we can't expect non-Muslims to come and make a beautiful story about the issues that affect Islam or Muslims. It's not fair. Do a non-Muslim expect a Muslim to make the most beautiful story about a Christian, for example, or the Christian faith or anything like that? No.
But I have a question on this. Why can't we, as you, a Muslim filmmaker or filmmaking division, talk about values and universal values without referring always this obsession that we have to show that the Islamic reference are all. We can talk about all these values in something which is much more universal.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. I mean, when I say Muslim, it's because we're discussing the influence coming is from Muslims. But you're right, you don't always have to say, let's make a movie, and as soon as there's something positive, put a little exclamation that this is Islam or this is about Muslims. No, as I said, it could be universal issues to do with anything, family, death, life. And it could be just made by a Muslim, but it looks beautiful. It doesn't even have to have, for example, any reference to Islam or
and
Muslim
Islamic, yes.
character or a name, you know, something that says from here to Jannah or from here to Paradise. It could be anything, but universal issues. And it has to have that universal issues for us to be able to connect with the society. Because we could be in America and we could have the same issues.
Yes. Last question. And it's a very, very difficult one, in fact. When it comes to the people, you know, we had some people who were in music, other in filmmaking, other in arts and entertainment. It's as if when they become Muslims or they are Muslims or they come back to the Islamic principles, there is a lack of creativity. Some of the singers and some of the movies, as soon as we look at it through the window of Islamic reference and ethics, more ethics, less creativity. And this is a problem because you are competing with people who have no specific ethics and very creative. How can we solve this?
I think we have to be smart. We have to balance what our ethics are with what we think, how beautifully we can artistically show this. So don't forget, in the time of the Ottomans, in the time of the Safavids, when there was great renaissance in arts, there was a lot of money spent, a lot of resources given to artists. Paintings, music, you know, a lot of new musical devices were created, a lot of plays, things like this. So it's about gaining the resources and also speaking to those who we look up to, say scholars, and say, look, I want to work in the arts, I want to be creative, you know, advise me what my boundaries are. And then once you know your boundaries, work within those boundaries and be creative. So it's a matter of education and the desire to be able to produce.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that listening to you, the first point, which is a very important point you made, is let us talk to the parents and let us talk to the first generation to understand that entertainment and arts is a serious business. It's about, you know, shaping minds and being educative. It's as educating as being a teacher if we understand the seriousness of what culture and entertainment is. And the second point that you made is to push the young to be involved in the business, to understand its professionalism, to be equipped, so to be skilled and to be educated, and then at the same time to deal with the networks that we can have in the West, for example, and deal with people, try to find things. And the last point that we made today is Islamic entertainment and Islamic movie or movie produced by Muslims. It doesn't mean that it has to be focused on Islam, focused on Islamic issues, but something which is much more universal with ethics, yes, within the boundary of what Islam requires, but universal as to the substance. And this is something which is a very important point. And the last word that we were using is creativity, which is needed, because creativity it's something within Islam that is not enough celebrated very often. It's as if, you know, educating is repeating, while educating is helping people to be more creative. Thank you for that. Well, that's all we have time for. Please let us know your thoughts and views on any of the shows you have seen, and here is the way to contact us.
Islam and Life welcomes your opinion. So please send us your suggestions as well as criticism on any of the shows you have seen or you would like to see. You can do all this by emailing us at islamandlife@presstv.co.uk. You can also be part of our online platform by joining our Facebook page, Islam and Life on Press TV, where you can share your thoughts with other Islam and Life fans, engage with debate, and view past shows.
Finally, I would like to thank my guest, Reza John Vedadi. Thank you so much for being with us. And I hope to see you next week, inshallah.